Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, welcome. Today I would like to reflect a bit on dependent arising or interrelatedness, co-emergent arising, or I also like Thich Nhat Hanh's interbeing. And in the book, How to See Yourself as You Really Are, that's starting in chapter 3. But I would like to be a bit more experiential rather than philosophical. And then I'm happy that there's the possibility also to read the chapters from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. But I never see so much the point to just repeat what is being said in the book, because you can read it yourself. Yeah? So just before our first meditation, where I would like to meditate on the interrelatedness or dependent arising of the body, because that's what we are most identified with, my body. Just a few words about dependent arising. There's 2 levels to the insight into dependent arising, a cause level. Do you say cause or cross or like something like this, cause? And that is things don't exist independent, but they exist dependent on causes and conditions and their parts. So that level of insight, anyone who studies ecosystems has, yeah, or weather or whatever. And it is like a stepping stone towards the realization of emptiness. In the same way, impermanence is a stepping stone towards the insight into emptiness. But what we are here more interested in is the more subtle level of interbeing or dependent arising, and that is that things don't exist independently from a mind making it into what it is for us. So things, phenomena, including ourselves, including this body, they appear to us as if they are existing out there as independent objects, and they have nothing to do with our mind, with the conceptual capacity of our mind to label, to designate, to give meaning. So if we are experiencing, for example, something which we would call a problem, then that problem, so-called problem, appears to us as if it's existing out there independently from us, making it into a problem, being a problem from its own side. And then we struggle with that, not realizing that we are co-creators of what we call a problem by making it into a problem. So that's the insight which is here in our discussion on emptiness is more important. To kind of support this Buddhist insight that things don't exist from awareness, don't exist independently from awareness, from a mind. we can also, of course, look into quantum mechanics, where they experientially showed that objects don't exist independently from an observer, and that it is our looking and it is our assumptions and our belief systems which collapse potentially a potential into what it is for us. So we are making what appears, co-creating what appears through observing it. This is really, really radical and strange, because right now, when we look at the things around us, they seem to exist out there independently. Objects, we look at the world from a Newton point of view. There is an objective world out there, which we can describe, which we can measure. And it has nothing to do with the observer. But that's not how things exist. And it is this distortion of reality. It's a distortion of reality made through the conceptual mind, which leads to the dualistic split of objects out there and subjects in here, something to defend in here. So that's the root of samsara. That leads to self-importance, self-centeredness. It leads to all fear, and it leads to all aggression. We getting attached to something we make up, and we fight something we make up. So seeing that, looking through that distortion, through that confusion, leads to a sense of deep connectedness, deep care, deep love. Because you realize initially only conceptually, but then experientially, that you're always only meeting yourself in a way. And that the problems around you are your problems. No, that's not well said. So it means if you pour a liter of oil into a landscape, you're pouring it into yourself, because you're not existing independently from that. If you hurt someone, you hurt yourself. So I will lead a bit of a reflection on that after taking some time of settling, as always. So you take your seat. And then this invitation to shift from the head into the body. And this is so important to make that as a part of your entry protocol to any meditation. Also, when you say prayers, that you always take this time to feel what is here, what you bring with you into this moment. Who is here? You know? Different processes and different parts of you. So what is here? Who is here? Well, what's the inner weather like today? The inner soup. The soup of the day. How is it like today? And to find out how the soup of the day tastes, it's really necessary to slow down, shift gear, and take some precious moments of welcoming yourself, meaning welcoming your experience as it is, and just recognizing and really tasting. Yeah? So it's not like staying an independent observer somewhere, but really tasting. Maybe the breath can deepen for a few moments, or you can really feel the aliveness. And with the out breath, maybe a bit of sighting. So kind of experience of sitting down after days of work and taking some time to just be without the need to do anything. And with the in-breaths sliding or dropping, relaxing that notion that you are the rider on the horse, living somewhere in the head, and being in the felt sense of your body. Maybe initially the whole body, down to your legs and feet, but then settling a bit in the trunk of your body, dropping into the trunk of your body. And ignoring lovingly the radio station of the narrative self, where you have been probably living most of the time today. And now you have the invitation to discover another way of being in the direct experience. Sounds and sensations of your body, and also the subtle level, the emotional body or energy body. There can be a bit of anchoring with the flow of in and out breath, but this is not meant as a breathing meditation. So the breath and awareness embraces how you feel. And then let's step more consciously into the sacred space of our meeting, the virtual Gompa, the virtual temple. appreciating that we are together here as Sangha. Also physically, we are far apart. Somehow we are also together. And that's quite mysterious where this togetherness is, but there is a togetherness. And we're breathing together. And then let's extend that circle also to the Sangha of the FPMT, or right now meditating with us, being here with us. And then if you have a connection with Lama Zopa Rinpoche or His Holiness the Dalai Lama or any other teacher, I call upon them. And they fill the space with their presence. With being embodiments of the realization of emptiness and essence love. Shunyata and bodhicitta. So that's our refuge. Shunyata and bodhicitta. And resting, returning, present moment awareness. Past exists only in thoughts, future exists only in thoughts. And you are here, you are alive. You are aware. And as Lama Zopa says, meditating on emptiness, which is the same than meditating on dependent arising. Dependent arising and emptiness are just two different words for the same thing. So Lama Zopa says that meditating on emptiness is the most powerful way to create causes for awakening. Or in other words, to accumulate merit. And meditating on emptiness or dependent arising is the only way to cut through the nightmare of self-centeredness. How fortunate we are. So, and then let's start with a bit of a reflection on or exploration of the coarse level of dependent arising, and we are using the example of the body. So you stay connected with the breath, but this is also a conceptual meditation, so stay within your body and notice how this reflection affects what is happening in your experience. So this body, the body you call my body, emerges right now, embedded into causes and conditions. It arises from causes and conditions. So this body depends on all the food you ate. So get a sense of that. And of course, the food you ate, it was grown by other people. It depends on the evolution of the plants and centuries of breeding plants. This body also depends on the air you breathe, and you have been breathing since you were born. And again, the air we breathe is dependent arising, dependent on the evolution on this planet and everything which happened. And right now we are also in a direct relationship with everyone else breathing and also the plants. This body also depends on your parents and the parents of your parents and the parents, 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 and so on, down into the evolution of Homo sapiens and further back. This body also depends on the elements. And the elements were born in the stars, in the pressure cooker of stars. And if we use the myth of the Big Bang, we can trace that back. So the body depends on billions, I forgot the number, billions of years of evolution. A vast ocean of causes and conditions. And in this moment, you have an experience of that. Just in front of your nose. A body breathing. So these are all conceptual reflections and images. And maybe you can recognize how that makes you feel. And breathing with that. And each heartbeat, each breath, each sensation in your body is a process co-emerging with everything else which is happening at this moment. And arising from billions of years of evolution. So you are an open system, an open ecosystem connected with everything else. Conceptually, we can cut these processes out. But that's not how they exist. Maybe a reflection like that can also trigger a sense of wonderment, a sense of awe. That you are witnessing this mystery of aliveness. You are alive. A metaphor which might be like a short cut to this is to experience yourself as a wave in a shoreless ocean, connected with everything else, with each other wave, and being part of the same ocean, the ocean of life. Then we can also shortly reflect on how the body depends on parts, the obvious parts, the limbs, and so on. But let's also really appreciate the complexity of all the processes, the communications, the different communities which need to work together right now. The liver, the kidneys, the brain, the breathing system, the nervous system, the blood, down to the cells. So a community of millions or millions of cells being in communication, in relation to each other, to create the experience you have right now. Sometimes it's enough to just feel the awe of life. The mystery that there's awareness and that there is the base which gives possibility for awareness, and that's the body. Just recognizing and witnessing. It's incredible honor or gift. And in this network, in this system, so you experience yourself as an ecosystem within ecosystems within ecosystems. Processes. There's nothing solid, nothing lasting in it. It's just processes. Non-static, vibrating, changing, moving. So in this, there is no center, there's no core, there's no owner. Just look around for a few moments within your experience. There's no I here, no self here. There might be a sense of I, a sense of me, but that's also just another process. It's also just sensations, experience. So in this ecosystem, there is no core, there is no owner, there is no control center. And if you have a sense there is, then just look there. And what you find is processes, which are embedded in other processes, and so on, without boundaries. There's no owner of the body. We'll keep on looking. So the looking is a bit is something active. Yeah. So it's something you do, not with a lot of effort, but so there's a bit of searching or a bit of looking within your experience of the body, not finding an I, a me, not finding a core. You find many things, and these things, they are not things, they are processes. And you find thoughts. But what you don't find, if you look, is an I, a me, an owner. So the I, the me, the owner, exist merely labeled as mere thoughts. It's just a word. I, me, myself. There's nothing there. So, and then we move a bit more subtle. And that is the recognition that body not only depends on causes and conditions, but it depends also on a mind labeling at body. Or the parts, they also depend on a mind labeling and trunk. So to give you a bit of a taste of that, I invite you to bring your awareness into your right hand. Kind of your awareness slides into your right hand and you feel the aliveness in your right hand. Might be quite subtle, but in the palm of your hand, fingers, and then notice that you're probably right now meditating on a mental image of the hand. So with concepts, you localize that which you call a hand. So now, see if you can go beyond that. What is there without a mental label, without a word? What is really there? Not in the conceptual mind, kind of a visualization, that's a mental image, but in your own experience directly. What is there? Beyond labeling, beyond words, or deeper. See if you can get a sense of that. Maybe the mental image can be much more transparent. Sometimes it can even dissolve completely. And then you start to actually experience something instead of projecting something. And when you do that, you experience that there is something there. It's very subtle, but there is not just nothing. And try to resist the impulses of the conceptual mind to do something with it, to make something out of it. And dive into direct experience. So, and when you imagine to broaden that into the whole body, you might get a sense how the body is a mere label. What is here without label, beyond words, beyond memory, beyond concepts. And probably you notice that your conceptual mind insists to kind of make boundaries. It's like a conceptual crayon making boundaries around things. And see if you can resist that. See it without words, without mental labels, without mental images, without memory. Not knowing anything. Oh, and then we are sliding out of this exploration. And take your time to open your eyes. And again, notice how with opening your eyes, it's how the process of solidifying again as an eye, looking out of your eyes into a world out there, how that kicks in, but maybe it can be a bit lighter. Maybe there's a possibility to experience a bit an aftermath of the openness, of the not knowing, of being in the senses and not being in the fantasy of the conceptual mind. it is possible to also with the looking through your eyes to have glimpses of seeing without labeling. And of course, in that moment, also the the grasping relaxes a bit, because there's nothing like, oh, I like that, or I dislike that, because that's the conceptual mind doing something. So it is just seeing shapes and colors. So this searching within the body for the I or the me and not finding it. This is something, if you want to have results of meaning, results would be meaning traveling lighter through life. Results would mean you start to notice a lessening of your reactivity. You start to notice that you become more easygoing, but not in this kind of fake easygoing where inside there is actually resentment. No, there is this kind of fake Buddhist practice where we pretend to be easygoing, but actually inside, if we turn our attention deeply inside and being honest with ourselves, we notice there is actually judgment and resentment. Yeah? So that's worthless. It doesn't help because you're not traveling lighter through life. So if you want to travel lighter through life and be more easygoing, really like be, not pretend or tell yourself that you're easygoing, but you are easygoing, you need to really look into this. What is that which I actually call I or me? What is that actually? Where is that? And you have to do it as much as possible. I mean, it's not enough to do it like in the evening with the meditation. That's also good, yeah. But it has to be like, I mean, I would say maybe this sounds a bit too demanding, but it has to be something which is almost like constantly looking and looking and looking and not finding. Yeah. And don't get scared by the complicated philosophy. You don't need that. You can be slightly wrong. You know, you don't need to have a complete right Prasankika Madhyamika view. That can come with time. Yeah, just use your understanding. It's very simple. So where's the I? Where's the me? What is actually what I mean when I say I have thoughts? I made this decision. I have a body. I have a problem. I was criticized. I want this. I make the decisions in my life. What is actually that I? So you need to look for it. And on the other hand, if you have some good philosophical understanding because you have studied emptiness and so on, that's completely useless if you don't do the looking. It's better to have a slightly off the chart kind of self-made philosophy and do the looking and then correcting. Yeah, it's amazing how many people spend their life reading these books and studying, and it doesn't have any end. So you not only need to read Nagarjuna and Chandakirti and Bhava Viveka, and then you need to read the Tibetan commentaries, and you read and read and read, but you never look. And of course, you don't become a more easygoing. Maybe you come a bit better in fake easygoing, because you kind of learn how to behave in a Buddhist Sangha or in a monastery or something, but inside is resentment. So this looking, and it has to, and you have to do it kind of passionately. You have to understand your life depends on it. And then looking, and then not finding, using different questions, listening to different teachers who use different ways of self-inquiry. Yesterday I used the self-inquiry question, is this who I am? So let's say you are triggered, what you need to work, what you need, when do you need to meditate on this is when you're activated. Yeah, maybe not too much, then maybe you need to do some provisional grounding, healing, and so on and so on. Yeah, so, but like being activated just in the right way. It hurts, but it's not overwhelming. So you take any trigger in your life as a possibility to ask the question, who's here? Who feels criticized? Who feels excluded? Who is that? Who is afraid? So now, if you initially do this inquiry with the hope that the fear goes away, you're wrong. It's not going away. The fear can work without an I. The conditioning, the traumas, they already work without an I. Yeah, there is no I. It's not like when the I is looked through that you lose something. Yeah. So it's a mistake to think that like I look through this and then I will be pain free, and it's not like that. And it's not enlightenment at all. It's the recognition that there's no I. It's a step. It's an awakening. Yes, important. But with the recognition that there is no I, there is no core, there is no me, that the anxiety is not happening to anyone, it's much easier to feel what you feel. There's less resistance. And as you know, We suffer because we resist our feelings. The problem is not the fear. I guess as a human, like being in this body, there will be always some level of fear. Some fears, of course, will fall away because, like the fear of, oh, what do other people think of me? So that would disappear because there's no me, there's no I. So you kind of figure out a way to do this, find good questions, and then find out how to look. And then you need to do it. What is beautiful in this, it's really a daily life practice. What is beautiful in this then is that you really start to appreciate difficult people. Because it's not that the difficult people in your life, that they somehow cause the turbulence inside. It's because they hit something which is already in you. And they give you the opportunity to work where you are stuck, where you're still confused, where you're still holding on. They constantly show you that there is a belief in an I, in a me. Oh, this person doesn't look in the right way. Maybe she thinks bad about me, me. So it shows the me. So that's where Lojong practice starts. Really seeing the difficult people in our life as our masters. They are the guru. One thing to that also, another thing. If you are someone, and that's probably in different degrees true for all of us, who doesn't like feelings, who thinks somehow there's something wrong with feelings. Yeah, I should be a human being without feeling. Yeah, but particular certain feelings. Then, as with all other practices, there could be the tendency to use the teachings, the practice, or the investigation into emptiness as an escape. So be really aware of that. So let's say you are sad, and there's an experience of sadness, and you don't like sadness. You think there's something wrong with being sad. One shouldn't be sad. It's embarrassing to be sad. How can I get rid of sadness? And then you go into the emptiness teachings. Oh yeah, there is no I. So, and I didn't lose someone. So I just dissolve it into, I don't know. This is really important to be aware of. With all kinds of practices, even with breathing meditation. You can use breathing meditation to disassociate from being a human being with feelings. And still, breathing meditation has its value, but it's important to become aware of this tendency. That's why I say it's so important. Before we do anything in any kind of practice, first feel your feelings as they are. Give them some space before you do anything. So if you have questions, you can just interrupt or write in the chat, but I will leave also some time in the end. I just want to make 3 more points. No, 2 more points. So my first point was, if you want to have results, you really need to do it. You need to do the looking. Nobody else can do this for you. Conceptual understanding doesn't help. It's just a stepping stone. It helps you to understand why would you do it, and so on. You get inspiration, you get some tools, but then you have to do it. And you can do it as part of any kind of practice. I mean, if you like breathing meditation or whatever you do, in the end, you can just add. So, okay, so that was fine. But where's the I? Where's the me? Where's the meditator? If you do deity yoga, anything. If you do, I mean, if you do yoga, dancing, fitness, running, a deeper meaning of physical yoga is to start to experience there's nobody there doing the yoga. Yes, Romy, you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to get out of the knot in my head. I guess it's a conceptual knot, probably, of so I'm with the experience of feelings, and it felt like, okay, that's a process that's happening.
Yeah.
Coming out of conditions, some of them old.
Yes.
And then it like I get caught somewhere, like maybe I took too far one way. It's like I'm feeling it and it feels more in like an experience and less story. And I'm trying, like, it feels like on one side I could tip to the story, and then it's the I having the story about the sensations. And then the other side where it maybe is a problem, it tips into it's just sensation, and now I'm gone, like that dissociative, not like I can't tell when it's dissociative versus dissolving. It gets really unclear. I think I know when I'm caught in story and I in reification. I think I can see when that's happening. It's the other direction. I'm not so.
Yes, it is. If you start to see the energetic aspect of a feeling, it is sometimes surprisingly how quickly they dissolve. So as long as you started in the body and you kind of, I mean, at that point, you are not even, maybe it even feels like I'm not in the body anymore, but it's where you started, yeah? So it's where you started. And it is a feeling which is really felt and giving space to. It has a very short lifespan.
Thank you, that makes sense. And I think one of the clues maybe that I'm not just dissociating is I feel a lot of like, I'll catch a glimpse or a wave of like care for myself. Like, oh God, that's a thing. That like, ouch, kind of like, oh, maybe that's a clue.
Yes, that's right. And then to distinguish a bit like inner work where it's actually helpful to not go there. Yeah. and not to do it at the same time. I don't know, maybe one can do a bit of a combination of that. Because of course, on a conventional level, it's helpful for us to tell a bit stories, understanding, you just said this little sentence, it's connected with the past. Yeah. Most people not even have an insight into that. So for them, it would be actually helpful to ask the question, for example, so you are anxious. Where do you know this from your life? When did you have it the first time? So this level is also valid. But if we actually then do like a self-inquiry meditation, then it's very common that feelings can dissolve very quickly because they are not fed anymore by the conceptual mind, and there's no resistance. And then the energy dissipates, or maybe it stays the energy, but it's not fear anymore. It's just some chi with a certain frequency. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sometimes people don't trust that because we have a sense that feelings are so lasting and so serious and so yeah. Yes, it's a good question. Yes, Philip.
I'm an old student of Lama Yeshe, and
Who's
more
speaking?
of a comment when you were talking about easygoing.
Yeah.
That was a real, and I the reason I want to comment is because I don't know if it comes across in the written teachings that much, or some people that did not have the experience of being a student of Lama Yeshe. But he used to say, easygoing, dear, easygoing. And a lot, that was, and it was in reference not only to how we live our life, but how we practice Dharma.
Yes.
Lightly.
That's
all I have to say.
Yeah. And why did you say it?
Because you brought it up when you were talking about easygoing,
Yeah.
it just brought me back there, and what an important teaching that is.
Absolutely.
It sounds minimal, but it's really important.
Yes. One of my favorite quotes, which I have often in my, it's a kind of mantra, it's one of the quotes of Lama Yeshe: relax, dear, it's good enough. Yeah,
good enough, dear. Good enough, dear.
Yeah, good enough, dear. So that's this.
And when you started speaking today, I don't know why Lama Yeshe is just coming through you in a certain way to me right now, but you said so or something. And the way you said so was just, I thought, that's just how Lama Yeshe said so. So some manifestation here.
Yeah, the main Western teachers I had, they all were direct students of Lama Yeshe, and I'm using the Introduction to Tantra, the book, really a lot. I mean, since 20 years. I quote from that book almost in every teaching. Yeah. I almost memorized it because I have quoted it so much. Yeah. And it's so helpful to have a counterpart to Lama Zopa. So for me, they are like one teacher, so because who can stand just Lama Zopa? I mean, like, it's a tough thing to survive Lama Zopa. I needed Lama Yeshe also, so I didn't meet him.
So thank you so much.
Yes, Philip.
Stephan, thank you. So I've had a question for a long time about dissociation, or maybe dissolution or disappearance. And my question is this, that ultimately or eventually, isn't that the result that we're heading toward and working toward?
What result are you working toward?
I'm sorry?
What result do you work toward?
To enter the world beyond my individual self.
Yeah, yes. But would you, so you would say that could be something like disassociation, or?
Yeah, it seems like the dissociation is what I want to accomplish.
No, disassociation is separation.
Okay, I
In
profoundly
a
misunderstood.
disassociated state, you are not in the world. You are not connected. You are disconnected.
Okay, so
Okay,
I'm
so
already disassociated then.
yeah, we are all. I mean, the most profound disassociation we experience is the disassociation from source, from disassociation from that what you described in your own words, like from being open to everything and being connected with everything and not resisting anything, but at the same time feeling everything. I mean, we are in touch with everything. We are in touch with people. We are not disconnected from them. And this association here, in how I use it, is particular the disconnection from the body, meaning the disconnection from feelings. So it would be also a disconnection from love, from compassion, because you can't disconnect from just the difficult feelings. If you disconnect from your body, then you will also have the problem of experiencing joy and compassion, and because compassion is also can be described as a function of the subtle energy body. So yeah.
Okay, thanks. That's very helpful.
Yes. And Tom?
Hi, Stephan.
Hi.
But sorry, I can't get a camera on me right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of comment and then ask a question. I found it extremely scary just during the meditation, finding out that all I am is amalgamation of processes. And that extends to kind of including the thought of just being me. So including that kind of subtle level thought, I think. Including the fear itself. And, you know, it's just, I think I've said this before, but just being energy flowing through time. Which kind of has a nice kind of romantic element to it, but it's also very frightening.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So if I would be, I mean, just it's more a joke, but I would then ask who is afraid.
Yeah.
But I get you, and
but it's
one thing is here, we have not covered consciousness or awareness, so you are more than processes. So
that was my next question.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
also
also
what we would call consciousness or awareness is not a thing. Yeah. It's also a process. It's more aware. So it's more being aware. But you are more than energetic processes. Yeah.
So then you introduce consciousness to it, and then I guess we begin to conceive or perceive what's this interconnection of everything. So my question was, is that the process of co-emergence? You mentioned co-emergence earlier. This introduction of consciousness to, I suppose you need consciousness from the beginning, so which is probably why it's called co-emergence. But I just got a little bit lost with that. And then also a separate question: we can learn to train ourselves to see without labeling or attaching, but who will be doing the training and who will be being trained? It's another paradox.
Yeah, it's no, it's not a. I don't know if it's a paradox. There is training, but there's nobody being trained. In the same way, there's thoughts, but there's nobody thinking them. In the same way that there's weather, there's nobody making the weather. So we take processes as a kind of proof, or there is something happening here. There's thinking, there's feeling, so there must be someone doing it. But this someone doing it in the same way, I mean, here in Scandinavia, they made up Thor. Yeah, so there's the weather, there's a process. So someone must be doing it. So they make up Thor, and then they start to worry about Thor and make offerings to him. But Thor has the same kind of reality as the I. So there is training, but nobody is being trained. In the same way that there's feelings, but nobody is there. I mean, when I say nobody, that's a bit too much. Yeah, it's a bit too much. But so I when I say nobody, I would always need to add nobody lasting, separate, unitary. That is not there. That's you can't find. And then the other, I don't know if I really got your question.
On co-emergence.
Yeah. So co-emerging, I use that word just as a synonym for dependent arising. So things emerge dependently on everything. Yeah. So a wave is co-emerging from the ocean together with all the other waves, and they are all dependent on each other. So that's how I use the co-emergent. But your question about consciousness. So I don't know if this is helpful what I say now, but so not finding a separate solid I, and staying in the not finding is a certain experience. It is an experience which you can't describe in the moment you have it, but after you can make some words around it. So the place, or let's say it like this experience can be approached from a different angle, and that's what you do in the Mahamudra tradition. So in the Mahamudra tradition, you are pointed to you are, yeah, it's called pointing out instruction. Yeah. Or I use a metaphor, maybe that's better. So in the deconstruction of the I, that would be a bit like making the clouds dissolve, but not saying anything about the sky. So you dissolve the clouds, you deconstruct the clouds, and what is left? The sky, but the sky is not being described. Yeah, because there's a danger in describing the sky to make the sky into something. In the Mahamudra tradition, you are pointed to the sky, like, there's the sky. So it's difficult to put this into word, but you realize you realize the same place you realize in the meditation on emptiness. It's just two different routes. The one route is the path of negation. So you use negation, you are told what you are not, but that's how you get there. When you are told what you're not, is not nothing, but it's also not something. And you could say something like it's consciousness, but again, that's already too much of a word, because also consciousness is empty. Yeah, so it's it would be now easier to be in Advaita Vedanta, because then we would say, yeah, there's awareness and we are awareness and that's it. Yeah, kind of Yogacara philosophy, yeah, where consciousness or awareness is seen as something really existing and something really findable. But from a Tibetan Buddhist point of view, at least from the Prasangika Madhyamika point of view, that would be still too much grasping, too much attachment, too much something, yeah, something we can describe. So both approaches, the path of negation and the path of pointing out something, you could say. I mean, something which is maybe better called nothing, but nothing is also not a good word. Yeah, because if I use the word nothing, then there's too much nothing there. And when I say something, then there's too much something there. So that's why the Buddha, when he talked about this, he said, that's like the most precise language in the Heart Sutra. He says, there is neither something nor is there nothing. So, and our dualistic mind can't figure that out, because our dualistic mind thinks, oh, there's either something or there's nothing, yeah. But the Buddha says there's neither a self nor is not a self. It's a koan. The Heart Sutra is a koan. And if you work with a koan, what happens is it kind of blows the conceptual mind, and then there's the gap. And that's what the negation and the direct pointing are, two different roads to the gap. And the path of negation is more for like rational people who like to use logic, who like to study and go through steps like 4-point analysis and so on and so on. And the other path is more a bhakti path, a devotional path, for more intuitive people. And then you also combine the two. So it's in the Mahamudra, in the Geluk Mahamudra, you have the shamatha practice also, but then you also have the teachings on emptiness and you bring them together. But in the Dzogchen tradition, pointing out, it's really intuitive. It's not philosophical, it's intuitive, it's heart from heart. You need to have devotion. something is transmitted. But the experience, which is at the end of the two paths, is the same. Okay, time is up.
Thank you, Stephan.
Yeah, you're welcome. I hope it was helpful, but if not, it was for sure helpful for someone else. That's why it happened. Yeah. So,
Yes.
yeah, so let's take a few moments to just appreciate this time we had together, reflecting on emptiness and dependent arising. So Lama Zopa and Lama Yeshe are very happy with their students. And by doing that, we really create the causes to meet them again. Because they want to finish the job. So let's rejoice in that. If you have a connection with either Lama Yeshe or Lama Zopa, just calling on their presence again. Their embodiment of the direct realization on emptiness, you know, the mighty stillness and the big love. And let's rest together in that, together with the FBMT Sangha. And then spreading it into the world. May all beings awaken from the dualistic distortion. Thank you very much. See you next month. And like yesterday, I will lead the prayer in half an hour, so you can join there if you want. So thank you.
Thank you, Stephan.
Thank you,
Bye.
Thank you, Stephan. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.